Hey everybody, this is Matthew from Nerd News Today, and today we're taking a look at another figure from Bandai's Anime Heroes lineup. And today, this is a particular figure that I've been waiting for them to get to for such a long time. Finally, Bandai is doing their Anime Heroes version of Izuki Midoriya from My Hero Academia. I've been a fan of MHA for a very long time. Typically, in fact, if you see me doing my on-camera introductions, I'm wearing my Academy tracksuit. I'm a big fan of the stuff, and also a huge fan of Bandai's Anime Heroes lineup because I feel like it's one of those toy lines that really doesn't get a lot of the attention it deserves, quite honestly. You know, a lot of folks talk about Hot Toys or Storm or Figure Arts, things like that, and those are great, but they're expensive. But Anime Heroes, they do a great job of really capturing the essence of a character at a very affordable price point. So I'm really excited to dig into this guy here. I've got some really high hopes for him. But first things first, let's talk about this packaging here. And it's really no different than any other packaging that you'd get from the Anime Heroes lineup, which is to say that normally you've got the character's name on the bottom along with the Anime Heroes logo in both English and in kanji. We've got this great drawing of Midoriya right there as well. And they always have a great big window that lets you see into the packaging and give you an idea of what this toy comes with. And normally they might not have a lot of accessories. Midoriya is looking pretty decent as far as accessories go. It looks like he's going to have a ton of hands here. Not much else, but still very solid. I also appreciate that there's a little insert behind him that's very anime. It's like a nice little bright gradient popping out with all the action lines going right towards him, so very cool here. The sides of the box aren't really anything super crazy. It just says, again, Anime Heroes on that side over here. And we've got that same image of Midoriya from before, just now on that side. And similarly, the back of the packaging is really never that exciting on these, but hey, it gets the job done. There really isn't much else to talk about here. Like, there's no bio information. There's really nothing else. In fact, all the text you're seeing that's in this bottom section here, this is all just like various copyright and manufacturing information in different languages, so it's not worth mentioning. But what is worth mentioning is that we do see who else is joining Midoriya in this initial lineup from Bandai. We have 3 figures total in this. So besides one that we're looking at today, we've also got a version of All Might, and we've got a version of Bakugo. And you better believe I'm going to get my hands on these at some point as soon as I can. But for the time being, we're just looking at Midoriya. So I'm going to go ahead and get him out of the packaging, and let's start taking a close look at our hero from all angles. And here is our Midoriya figure out of the packaging here. I'm already pretty happy with how this is looking, but I can see there's going to be, I think, 1 or 2 points here that a lot of collectors might not be as keen about as I am. Let's go ahead and do a quick rotation right now just so you guys can see our Midoriya from all different angles here. But yeah, so Bandai is not your typical action figure company, and this is not necessarily a collector's company, but it's kind of a hybrid because, yeah, they are for collectors, but they're also for kids. And so this is where it gets kind of interesting here, because if you're going to collect something like this, let's say if you're used to more higher end stuff, there's going to be some sacrifices that you have to make. Whereas if you're used to the lower end stuff, this is probably going to be perfect for you. So, you know, it's an interesting lineup. It's an interesting series, this whole Anime Heroes thing that Bandai's been doing. But I've been really enjoying it. And I hope to show you guys why I've been enjoying it so much with this Midoriya today here. So we're going to go ahead and take this figure apart piece by piece. Not literally, of course, but we're going to dissect how this guy looks, how he moves, how he operates, and we're going to go ahead and start that by taking a closer look at that likeness. And we'll ask the question, as I do in all my videos, does this look like the person who it's supposed to be? And in this case, does it look like Izuki Midoriya from My Hero Academia? And that's a definite yes here. You know, I will admit that translating a 2D anime character into 3D toy form, it's not easy. It's really not. These guys are really never meant to be three-dimensional, but really, we've seen some great ones so far from a lot of different companies here, and Midoriya is no exception, and neither is Bandai. I think they've done a really great job pulling that likeness and the feeling of Midoriya and putting it into action figure form. The face is great. The sculpting is nice and minimal. That's kind of what you want with an anime character too. You kind of want it to be very minimal. The paint is really great on the eyes. Very much digging the hair. I feel like with anime characters too, it's all about the hair. If you get that hair wrong, then it's all pretty much meaningless at that point. But definitely solid hair for sure. And just overall very good likeness. You know, this looks solid. Facial expression is nothing amazing, but you know what? Honestly, this time around, it definitely fits Midoriya. It kind of fits his vibe, so we'll go with it. Now, let's go ahead and start talking about the outfit here, too. And this is where you'll start to see something that may or may not turn you off on these figures. We'll see what you guys think about it in particular. But as we start to go ahead and pan down, you'll see this is him in a lot of his armor. Keep in mind, this is not the most current outfit he's worn. We're talking, you know, mid-seasons of the series here. But looks pretty accurate to me for the most part. I mean, we have his face mask over here. And on his back, by the way, you can also see we have the mask for him as well. This mask obviously does not go on his face, but it is there. And in fact, we'll pan down too, just so you can see how he looks from behind. So pretty cartoon accurate, you know. But here's the one point where I feel like a lot of folks might get turned off, and that's just because, again, this is an action figure, and Midoriya has a lot of very exposed joints. So he is a ball jointed figure, and he has a ton of points of articulation. Like, these guys are amazing as far as posability goes. And to me, that is a very strong part about these figures. And in fact, we'll dive into that a little bit right now here, I think. So yeah, our Midoriya has so many POAs. So we have a ball-jointed head up here, which is amazing, moves great. We have ball-jointed shoulders. We have bicep that swivels. We've got a double-jointed elbow, so you can get some really great posing. The wrist is on a ball joint, so it can bend and flex. Our waist moves very nicely. And our legs, same thing, ball joints. Looks like we've got a huge double-jointed knee here as well. And the feet are on some ball joints too, so we've got great range of motion. We don't have anything in the torso, like as far as a chest cut, like you would see with a WWE figure or Marvel Legends. And Bandai doesn't really do those in this lineup. So you're missing that one joint there, but otherwise this guy is loaded up with articulation. But the downside is it's all very out in the open. It's all very exposed. None of these joints are really hidden. So if you're seeing one, I mean, you're going to see how it moves. And from the front, that's not too bad. I mean, you know, this looks good. But the minute you start posing him, or especially the moment that you turn him around, I mean, those knee joints especially, I mean, you talk about unsightly. That really looks like a toy. And a lot of folks, when they collect their stuff, they don't like things to really look like a toy, which is weird. But some folks don't want their joints as open and exposed as these are. And you're really getting that a lot with the Bandai stuff. I mean, look at those wrists, too. The wrists are the same thing. You could see that big old ball joint right there. You can see the double-jointed elbows. So they're not really doing anything to hide it. And this is a preference choice. For me, with these types of figures, I honestly don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. Some folks don't like it. So I offer this to you just as a perspective and just to show you what you're getting with them. Now, another really great thing about the Bandai Anime Heroes lineup is the paint is always spectacular. You're not seeing any slop anywhere in this figure. And of all the figures I've been reviewing across many years of doing this, never had an issue with the paint on any of them. That's because the paint is usually fairly simple, very solid. Majority of the piece is just molded plastic too, so there's not really a lot of painted detail in there. But when there is, it's usually very solid, accurate, spot on, no mess ups, always just perfect all around, top to bottom. Now the details as well, there's usually nothing too crazy here because their goal with Anime Heroes is just to kind of capture like the cartoon look of these guys, and that's there. That's all perfectly there. You're going to get the most basic amount of detail, and that detail is going to be the level of which you would have seen it if you were reading the manga or if you're watching the anime. Again, the only difference is just you're going to have those exposed joints here and there, but that's really it. It's a very simple figure. And there's usually a little bit of like modularity with them too. I think Midoriya's head can probably pop off. Yep, there we go. So, you know, if this mask kind of bothers you, you can just take that right off. We're going to leave it on, but yeah, most of the joints tend to just come right on and off really easily, and that's very handy. They usually don't have like swappable heads, but they tend to have swappable hands. And in the case of Izuki Midoriya, we have 4 additional hands here, which you can see. So currently on him, we have closed fists, but we have 2 different sets of open hands that you can mix and match as you like. And I'm going to do a quick swap right now, just to show you guys how easily this stuff does change out. And it's, I mean, you see how quick that happened already. Like we're you know, moving along real fast here with this because these guys are just that easy to put together and to work with. Very simple, snaps together, boom, we're ready to go. And just like that, the hands are swapped. And essentially you're going to get one hand like this for the left and right, and one hand like that for the left and right arms, and again, closed fists. So you've got 6 hands total. Not a ton of accessories, but for Midoriya in particular, really, what other accessories do you need? To me, the accessories are cool and all, but really Anime Heroes is just about that posability, that flexibility to get into real serious, like action-packed poses, which might be otherwise difficult to do with other figure lines. And yeah, you can definitely do some great movement here with these guys. Cool poses. One thing I do wish is that they had like bases, but even then, I mean, without the base, I mean, I'm going to put this guy right here for a second. I've currently got Midoriya actually kind of like posed with most of the weight on one foot. Like that other foot that's here, this back foot, that is up on its toe, and he's still holding that position. So that's actually pretty amazing here. Like I'm going to see what I can do with this guy and how much more I can pose him, but man, like that's really solid already. Like that just looks good. And that's how easy it is to pose these guys and keep them in poses, even without bases. Now, how does our Midoriya look next to some other figures? Well, let me pull out some other Anime Heroes. And I'll start with one that I looked at also very recently, and that would be our Chainsaw Man figure. And he's a much taller figure, so it's going to be a little bit different here. But we've also got one of the figures that basically like launched this Anime Heroes lineup, and that would be a Goku. Now, mind you, this is not the Goku that really launched the series, but again, it's just another Goku that I think we looked at about a year or so ago. So these guys are now pretty much all in the same size here. So keep in mind that Midoriya is a child. He's going to be a little bit smaller. And really, you can kind of see that scale, it doesn't really exist too well here in the Anime Heroes lineup. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. More often than not, it's usually not like, 100% correct, 100% accurate, but it's not terrible. It is what it is. These figures are, to begin with, a little bit on the smaller side, as I'm going to show you right now. Because if I swap out our Chainsaw Man for a Shawn Michaels figure here, or I swap out our Goku for another Super Saiyan, well, maybe not quite Super Canadian, it's more accurate, Bret Hart, you'll see how much smaller Midoriya really looks next to these guys. And these elites are going to be also about the same size like a Marvel Legend figure. So, these are closer to like the 6 to 7 inch range. Midoriya is just not quite there, and Anime Heroes in general, they're usually a little bit smaller. So it might not be the best as far as like having him in different lineups, but thankfully since he is meant to be a high school kid, you can kind of get away with it a little bit easier than you would with like other figures. But yeah, as you can see here, just next to these guys, most other figures in the 6 inch range will just tower over the Anime Heroes. So therein lies the question with the Anime Heroes lineup, and that's really, are you okay with some of the, not shortcomings that they have, but some of the preferences that Anime Heroes lineup has when they make their figures? That being the exposed joints and the scale. And for me, it's not really that big of a deal. I think Figuarts also run to a fairly similar size as well. I think Revoltech, kind of same thing too. It's like they're basically 6 inches and under usually, whereas like most American figures tend to be in the 6 to 7 inch range for 1/12 scale figures. So I would still say that Anime Heroes is fairly close to being a 1/12 series. Maybe it's more like a 1/11 or 1/13. I don't quite remember how we do the math here. But, it's a sacrifice out to make, and I've been okay making it for a long time, because I've got a lot of these figures. I think they look great together, never had any issues, and quite honestly, I'm happy to keep buying them. So, yeah, for me, again, we're talking My Hero Academia here. I didn't buy any of the McFarlane Toys figures other than, like, one of them, and even that I think I ultimately sold, because I wasn't really too into them. I didn't really, like the way that they posed. Likenesses were fine. Sculpting was fine, I guess. They didn't do it for me, and that goes for the 7 inch and the 5 inch versions. But, and the biggest thing too is also articulation. I wanted them to really be able to move and do dynamic poses, and you couldn't do it at McFarlane. I didn't want to spend figure art prices or anything like that to get like a real fancy import. I was really just waiting for Bandai to do their Anime Heroes line, and finally it's here, and I'm not disappointed, and I really hope this line keeps continuing, because Wave 1, we mentioned earlier, it's only got 3 figures, and there's so many more that I want to get, and I'm really, really hoping that we can get them all, because, man, can you imagine that lineup? But yeah, that's our look at the Anime Heroes My Hero Academia Izuki Midoriya figure. I'm a fan of it, and I hope you guys are too, but hey, let me know in the comments what you think about the Anime Heroes line, and in particular, this Midoriya, because like I said, I know these aren't necessarily for everybody, but they work for me, so I'd love to hear what you think about them. And if you are sold on this guy and want to pick one up for yourself, go ahead and check out my affiliate links in the description of this video below. If you click on any of those links, it helps support this YouTube channel at no extra cost to you. So until next time, I'm Matthew, this has been Nerd News Today. We'll see you guys here next time for more action figure reviews, statue reviews, and everything else we do here on the channel. Keep smiling, superheroes.